crush it. In a lot of ways, this is the follow-up to jab, 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 right hook, but there's a lot of crush it elements, which is like, if you do this well, if you want to be known for being a peanut butter expert, or being, a businesswoman boss, or being a landscaper, or known for, beauty, like, you implement this, you will get awareness, you will have opportunity. But what's interesting about it is, it's easier now than when I wrote crush it or jab, 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 right hook. Because to your point, and you broke it down beautifully, Jazz, like, it used to be email marketing. You would try to get as many people to follow you as possible, and then a percentage of them would see your content. Now, individual pieces of content find their audience. It's the interest graph, right? Back to visuals. This is Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr stock. They were companies that I first invested in. When I invested in Tumblr, I thought that Tumblr was gonna be bigger than Facebook and Twitter because I was obsessed with this idea of following interests, not people. Because I felt interests had more evergreen than people, because I knew that a lot of people were gonna be young, and things change a lot with your social graph between high school to college, college to post-college, and even your 20s into your 30s. And so, pre-kids. So it made sense to me that, like, my love affair with the New York Jets, or hip hop, or video games, or trading cards would stay with me much longer than maybe the kids I grew up with, but then when I moved away, or my college friends and we moved away, and so we are now in the interest graph world. And so for everyone who's listening, this is very exciting. You've got 3 people in here who've put a lot of work in to building audience and being known. The fact that you at home, if you're good enough with your content, this is why I wrote the book with such detail of how to be good at the content, your speed in getting awareness is much faster. I had to build a slow building over time to become a big building. People can get it faster now because the algorithm, like, if you're that person, you can go from 0 to 1 million followers way faster now because your content will be seen. And so we now live in the interest graph, algorithmic TikTokification world, meaning TikTok started that trend, Musically TikTok, and now every single platform, from LinkedIn to YouTube Shorts to Facebook to Twitter to Instagram to Threads, like, it's the content's reaching an audience that might like it, not who followed you. Yes, a percentage of who followed you, but it's a whole different game. Everyone listening right now would think, oh shit, these 3 have really earned over the last decade or half decade this spot. How could I've done nothing. I don't even have an account. Oh my God, wait a minute, are these 3 saying, like that? Like,
blow us out of the water.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's insane. That's insane. When I think about what I believe in, I'm like, oh my God, this is like the greatest gift ever. And people are gonna blow it because they're gonna come up with excuses. Your point is taken. I wrote this book to suffocate every excuse. And yet, people won't do it. And I know that because, look, the foundations of being in shape are out there with eating and exercising. We all know it. It's not like you don't know. It's not like I'm walking around being like, no, I think if I eat a ton of carbs and don't exercise, it's all gonna be epic. Like, we know it, but can you do it?
So true.
So what are the common things that you see stopping? Like, you speak on stages, you go in from the boardrooms to warehouses to schools.
Well,
what is stopping people?
You two are gonna like this. This is how I evolved into the Gary Vaynerchuk I am now. I used to think it was tactics and all my books were written like that, and then I realized it was insecurity.
Absolutely. Yep. Because even in your story in the beginning of the book, Dogface almost didn't even post that video that got the millions and millions of views. And Gary, I gotta tell you, I'm very guilty of not posting videos because I think I look like an idiot. And I know, reading your book, I know that's one of the biggest mistakes, because you say someone else is gonna find it valuable. Just get it out there. But many of us stop.
Yeah, and look, it's hard. Like, many of us stop because we're insecure about the way we look.
Yes.
Right?
The
like
sound, whatever it is.
Yeah, people don't like the sound. Like, I hate it. I hear people saying, I don't like the sound of my voice. I'm like, why?
It makes me want to cry for them.
It makes me want to cry.
It makes me emotional. So what do you say to them? Gary,
I say that I'm desperately scared of regret. Everyone's gonna be 90, God willing, and you're gonna be like, fuck, why didn't I?
Yes. Just yesterday, I had a gentleman tell me on a live video,
Amy, I want to post these videos. I'm making them like you say I need to make them, but I look at myself and I'm 60 years old and I look so old, and I look around and everyone's young on TikTok and I just can't do it. And you're saying, but it's that regret if you don't.
Correct, because he's gonna be 80, not 60, and he's gonna think he looked phenomenal at 60, number one.
Yes. Amen.
And number two, I live my life out of the great fear of regret, and I think everyone ends up there. Whatever you're scared of now, it's not gonna be as scary as being 91 and realizing you never followed your true self. Only bet on me, right? Like the biggest bet I probably made was the first one, which was, I believe that I'm so remarkable, thank you mom, that I think I can actually spend the first 10 to 15 years of my career building a business for my parents and then leaving with nothing and starting over. You know, my story has been massaged for, I mean, many people know my actual story, but there are many people, because I read the comments, who like to think like I read a comment the other day on a TikTok post. They're like, how do we listen to this guy? He inherited a winery. I laughed so hard when I read that. I was like, first of all, it was a liquor store in New Jersey, and second of all, you can go look at who owns it now. I sure don't. Like, I think the biggest bet I ever made on me was actually that I wouldn't resent my parents, and that's probably the biggest bet I made. I knew that I loved them so much and I admired them so much, and that I thought I was so capable. I mean, it's pretty insane in hindsight. At the time, it seemed really logical to me, but it's pretty insane to like decide when you're me that you're gonna go work in your dad's liquor store for what ended up being every day for 12 years, and I'm still close to it. Every day, 6 or 7 days a week, 10 or 15 hours a day, give up your entire 20s of enjoyment and joy, and never get paid $100,000 a year while you build them a massive business, and then leave and start VaynerMedia. And I had so little money, I had to start it in Buddy Media's conference room because I didn't have money to pay for rent. That's fucking crazy.
Yes. So
I bet on myself emotionally. Think about what I did. I bet on myself emotionally. I thought I would be emotionally strong enough to not be upset that I did that, and I ended up being very right.
It's really respecting or focusing on the journey more so than the endpoint.
Yeah, when I first started hearing like, it's the journey, not the, I'm like, oh, like I didn't, like, you know, it took me a while before like I'd heard it over and over and again. I'm like, oh shit, like I'm central casting for that.
Yeah.
Even to my love of losing in entrepreneurship, I love the game of entrepreneurship more than I like myself. And what I mean by that is I get a sick, almost twisted joy out of when I lose because I'm like, good.
Because you learn.
Because I'm like, and even more than that. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
No, it's like, I don't know if you see this, I'm getting goosebumps. It's like this sick respect for the game that I like when the game fucked me. Like I wasn't good enough. Somebody else did it better, or I didn't see it. It's like being such a good fighter. Actually, I think about great fighters. I gotta talk to some of these MMA guys that I respect. I have to have dinner with one or two of the best of all time and ask them, do you think it's cool that you got knocked out because you enjoy the fact that you understand why you fucked up? Like, oh, I didn't fucking see his feint. Like, do you love the game so much that even at your own expense, there's some sort of joy beyond just learning? Some sort of like ideological respect for the whole thing. I respect entrepreneurship so much. I believe in merit so much. The reason I loved sports so much is either you win or lose. Right? You play. That's why I love fighting. Like you fight, someone's gonna win or lose. It's a fight. That's why I wish every boxing and MMA fight could not end in judging, because that's not merit. Just let them fight until somebody loses. Like that would be the ultimate sport in my opinion. I'm just gonna say it nice and slow. If you're good enough, if you're great, if you've got it, if you're a player in this game of entrepreneurship, the years that you would go if you decide to go help your family business expand its restaurant business or dry cleaning business or whatever, you know, classic, often immigrant, but not always immigrant family businesses. If you go and give them 22 to 30, a couple things will happen. One, you're gonna learn a lot of shit pretty fast because you're gonna be in the trenches of a family business, not in a corporation where you're not learning any fucking real shit. Two, if you go straight into your game, that's epic. And I listen, I know if I was born in this era, I wouldn't have went into my dad's business. The internet would have been too much. It would have been too seductive. I would have made millions in high school, let alone, you know, so I think that's real life. So I can't sit here and say, go into your family business where I know if 15-year-old me's listening, he's going direct to fucking consumer. But I do think you'll be happy that you did it. Even if you get into big fights with your family, remember, if you don't choose money over the love of your family, it will always be okay. It's always ego of the family members that's the issue, not the money.
Right.
And here's the big one. I was 33 years old, let me put it that way. I was 33 years old, working full-time in a liquor wine store. You have time if you're good enough. That was my pit stop to do some mitzvah for my family. And then I've been on my actual solo journey since 34. So the last 14 years, I've been building my world, and I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Cool. One more thing, I want to hang on the Jets for one, and then I have some. I have a lot of questions. But how do you plan on structuring that deal for the Jets?
I think because I know that I don't have the financial ability to buy the Jets within the next 5 years, I'm not spending too much time on it. Meaning, even in the last couple of years, the NFL is now more open to private equity invest. Like the thing, by the time I'm ready, there's gonna be so much change. Like, who knows with the blockchain, with new regulation, with cryptocurrency, with the new world order, the BRICS alliance, the US, the modern Cold War. I mean, I'd like to think I'm thoughtful enough to know that by the time I'm ready to strike in 20 years, the model that the model might be $5 from every human on earth, or it might be borrowing against all my assets, or I made the wealth. There's so many ways, you know. Or I may meet 2 or 3 people tomorrow, let alone some people on my mind right now that become my greatest business friends, who also might be diehard Jet fans, and they might be my partner group. So it's too far out for me to know. I just know that since somewhere around 1985, I've wanted to try to buy the Jets. I will say it right now on film. Look at Mark Cuban. I mean, let's say I wanted to buy the Mavericks. I would have never in a million years thought that Mark Cuban was going to sell it this year.
No way.
A year ago, I'd have been like, okay, Mark's a little bit older than me, and boom. I know I'm 100% not in control when the Johnson family decides to do what they're gonna do. I can only control being a great enough businessman and entrepreneur to create the wealth creation that gives me a shot. I spend 100,000% of my energy thinking about that. I don't think about deal structure. I don't think about the day. I don't fantasize about it. And most of all, I don't need to actually accomplish it. And this is the curveball to the whole thing. What I didn't know for a long time, until probably my mid-30s, even before the whole Garyvee thing started, somewhere around then I'm like, oh, I don't need to buy the Jets. I need to try to buy the Jets. And I would say for a lot of entrepreneurs that are listening, that will probably resonate. For the purebred, not the people that use entrepreneurship to make money to hide their insecurities. I mean for the purebred entrepreneurs that will do it for the game. The ones like me that want to wake up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday to go garage sailing because buying something for $5 and selling it for 80 is fun because you're an entrepreneur. To that guy and girl, I think they'll understand what I'm saying with, I don't need to buy the Jets, I need to try to buy the Jets. You know, I think I plan on it by building 2 meaningful, maybe 3 meaningful businesses that I own, more so than, let's say, starting a fund or investing. And so the 2 big ones in my universe are VaynerX, the holding company that holds VaynerMedia and the other several marketing companies in that, and then VeeFriends, the intellectual property company that I started as an NFT project. And I feel like what I've always planned on with VaynerX and VaynerMedia was to build a private equity firm on top of that. So I've always thought about my mission in marketing when I started the company 14 years ago was if I built the best contemporary marketing, I thought in Star Wars terms, if I built the best marketing Death Star in the world, meaning, and I use the Death Star, you know, if you're a Star Wars nerd, if it pointed its powers against a planet, it could blow up a planet. So if I could build the best marketing Death Star, and whether I pointed it towards a bottled water or a political campaign or a nonprofit, you know, whatever I pointed it to, if it always did remarkable, better than any other way that it could have done that, well, that would be the ultimate leverage in the business world. And private equity is an industry I'm fascinated by because I think it's right, and I'm a business nerd. The idea of buying something and doing it better, it's like fun. It's like operations. That's what I love to do. but I've always looked at it as they're good at operating, they're good at CFO, they're good at COO, they're good at CEO, they're good at financial arbitrage, and they're all, and I mean the best ones, the Apollos, the Carlyles, the BlackRocks, they're all really bad at marketing. And I mean really bad. And I have some nice relationship with some of the top guys and gals in the game. And what you learn is they understand the Excel sheet of it all. They understand a lot, but marketing is a black hole for all of them. And that is consistent to what I see in the Fortune 500 ecosystem. I get to work with some of the biggest brands in the world, and it is very clear to me that the way I define marketing in a day trading attention and the way they define marketing is different. I've been able to find the middle so that we can work with them, but it is my everyday hope that when we work with them, that I'm moving them more towards our side of things, right? I always tell my people at Vayner, we get paid to think and strategize for them, not only run the media and do the creative and all that. And so all that leads to a long rant of the 3 entities that I think could get me to the kind of business success that could allow me to fulfill my 4th grade dream is VeeFriends, VaynerX, and this private equity firm that I'm going to build on top of VaynerX, meaning the talent from VaynerX will come over and will be the first private equity firm that creates hyper growth of the businesses we buy, not just operational efficiency. At 48, if I execute that for the next 20 years, at 68, I feel like I'm in a position to make that kind of money. I think at the highest levels, what you get really good at, it's always come natural to me, and I know it's a foundation of my future success, let alone my past success. And I definitely see it in others that I can get close enough to that I'm like, okay, they're doing the same shit. If you focus on the things that are the highest value and you like, not just the highest value and not just what you like, that cross section of highest value and you like, well then it works. I love selling. So if I'm heavily involved in pitching new business now, big shout out to Kaylin McNamara, who's crushing for me now and helping me scale. Sean Walsh, like it's starting to happen. Amy Bradshaw, but if I fucking get involved in selling, like it's gonna work. We just landed a $20 million client. It's good that I was involved. And I liked it, and it was good, and that's good. Of course, someone could say like, Gary, what do you like? I mean, I really have very successful people constantly yell at me. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
What do they say?
Well, they just, if they know me really well, they're like, bro, you like could be making a lot more money. like, why are you running the agency? I'm like, well, it's the operating system. They're like, you could do that now. You could raise $500 million tomorrow. Like, you're you. Like, I'll give you $10 million for the, I'm like, yeah, but I'm not ready. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, all those people I just gave shout outs to, like everyone's getting further along. Dustin's stronger today than he was 24 months ago. You know, like I'm building people and I'm young. Bro, I'm 48. I'm gonna work for the next 40 years minimally, and like I'm pretty sure to the end. And you know, I know I can die tomorrow, but if I don't, which is more likely, I'm gonna fucking build. And so like I'm not in a rush, and everyone's like 25 and is like, I don't have it figured out. I'm like, nobody 50 has it figured out. What the fuck are you worried about? You know? So what do they say? They're like, look, you can make a lot more money doing different things. I'm like, I'm aware. I know what hedge funds are. I know what private equity is. I know, like, I get it. I know I could start if I want to go for high risk, high reward, I get that I could try to start a SaaS business or a social network. I think I could build a huge QSR franchise business. Like, I know there's other things. I like this. Like, you're allowed to make less money for much more joy, even at high levels. Like, when people talk about like, oh, don't choose money over happiness, they always think of like a guy backpacking in fucking Peru. No, I'm doing that right now.
You're happy.
But I'm also making real money. But like, yes, I'm aware I can make a lot more money, but I don't want to, dick face. I want to be happy. Why would I want to be miserable and make $100 more million a year? Why would I want to do that? Who wants to be miserable? This has been my whole rant for the last 7 years as my content evolves. I'm like, okay, I understand if you don't have money that you think money is the answer, but I'm telling you right now, I know unlimited. You already know at this young of age in your circles how many people are deeply hurt and dark and miserable with plenty of money.
Too many.
The end. As many as that are miserable and sad without money. Money is not the variable of happiness. I know everyone who doesn't have it, doesn't believe it, and it makes sense to me why. but you will find out if you're lucky enough to get there. I don't really think that what I do well is agency. I knew I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I wanted to build the greatest marketing Death Star of all time.
There you go.
I also knew that for me to do that, I needed to go through it. Meaning, at that point in my life, I probably could have raised $50 million to start Vayner instead of 0. But I also know I would have not learned. I would have had too much money, and I would have hired all these people from Ogilvy and Leo Burnett and Droga 5, and I would have gotten nothing but bad behavior, and I would have learned nothing. I needed to eat shit for a decade to taste everything, to learn everything, to have every fucking battle scar, and now I have all the context. And now everyone's in deep shit. Now it gets interesting. Now they fucked up and let me figure it out. And so this goes back to why I always talk about patience. I can promise you right now, I'm really fucking happy I did, right? Because I think the problem for you, your crew, the crew that's 25 and definitely the crew that's 15 is everyone's just so uncomfortably impatient. Mainly because 90% want to be successful to fill gaps in their soul, right? To prove it to the girl that didn't go out with them, or stick it to dad who said they were never gonna make it, or to their teachers that got D's and that. That's like, all my teachers told me I was gonna be a garbage man. I don't know why they picked on garbage men, because they make plenty of money, but that's what was the 80s thing of you're bad at school. But I get why people can build resentment, why people have insecurities, parent dynamics, not being popular in high school. It all makes sense to me. I get it. But it is what fucks people up from maximizing happiness and success.
It also sounds like not enough people are willing to eat shit. Everyone wants to win, but not enough people are willing to eat shit.
That's because most people are fake entrepreneurs.
Entrepreneurs?
Yeah. It became cool.
You made it cool.
I feel like
I blame you.
I feel like it was gonna happen. And to your point, and thank you, and I take that as a compliment.
It is.
I happen to be in the right place at the right time. No question. But and honestly, one of the reasons I take on the responsibility to talk about the things I'm talking about now, which is fix your soul, pay attention to your insecurity. I take on the responsibility that people do think I'm cool, and I'm hoping if I spit real shit, it might help someone. I made a video on my couch in 2007 that said Facebook should worry about Twitter on a flip cam. Remember those? You flip cam, you stick it into your laptop. It went viral to 500 of the right people, most of the employees at Facebook at the time, which led to Dave Morin asking me to give a speech at Facebook at the time, which led to Mark Zuckerberg being in the back of the audience, which led to him walking down after I luckily said smart enough stuff that caught his attention, asking me for dinner when I already had a flight back to New York on the red eye, but I said, of course, I'm leaving tomorrow. We had dinner, it started our relationship, and my investment in his company from his parents' stock a year later, I've never sold a single share of the company. This was 4 years before its IPO. It IPO'd at $42 a share. It went down to $19 in the first 6 months. It's now $500 a share. And that was very, very good that I made that piece of content. Not only did that piece of content lead directly to that investment, it also sparked the beginning of me building a brand in Web 2.0. And this goes back to the argument, and I don't think Neil fully believes it, that it's not valuable. That single piece of content and my keynote that changed my career. The one at Web 2 Summit in 2008, where I say smurf it up, and that whole thing, that went on Ted's website and got 1 trillion views, is 99.9% of the springboard that led to everything you're looking at. Right. 2 pieces of content.
That's why so going back to this talk about idea, total addressable market. So people in private equity like to use total addressable market, right?
I love that.
So idea TAM, it's go wide. Why not go wide? Because people are going to know who you are.
Well, human personal brand TAM is billions of people usually.
So why not?
I aim to be known by every single person on earth before I die. That is my TAM.
Well, speaking of large TAM too.
And especially, I apologize just to give a little nerd talk, with AI voice conversion, we're here. I will be speaking every language and every piece of content I put out next year. Money in the bank, this voice that goes high and gets raspy and does it all its shit. With my cadence, that's insane, bro. I'm gonna crush fucking Brazil and my fucking Portuguese. I'm gonna fucking annihilate it. I'm gonna be massive in Germany. I can't wait. Japan, finally. I'm hyped. So TAM for personal brands that talk about macro things, it's 8 billion.
Yep.
When I invested in Tumblr in 2008, I called my brother AJ and said, bro, I know I told you Facebook and Twitter are gonna be huge, and they were on their way. I said, but Tumblr is gonna be the biggest of them all. And he said, why? And I said, because Facebook and Twitter, you follow people, and Tumblr, you follow shit you're interested in. And I was convinced. And Tumblr had a $1.1 billion exit, 12 years ago, which was like 40 billion now, and it was a great exit, but it could have been bigger. And the reason I was so early on Musical.ly, which later became TikTok, was I saw the first time since Tumblr what I've been looking for, which was if you gave people the things they were interested in constantly, forever, like how life actually works, what you're reading, what you're watching, what you're wearing, it's always mapping you. Social, I could tell by then, was no longer mapping. If you started on Facebook in the 37-year-old set, you were getting stuff still from people you went to college with that you met at one party once, and you were like, I don't give a fuck about Ronnie Johnson. And nobody was, just like email, nobody was like fixing their feed. So once I saw Musical.ly, and obviously it started as teenage young girls predominantly with some guys, I was like, ooh, this is different. And then very quickly I understood what was happening, which is why I was so bullish on it at the time. And then obviously emphatic about TikTok once they acquired it and yelling about it in all my channels back in the day. The TikTokification is the reference in the book to now every social network is going to go into a place of trying to service you to the best of their AI capabilities, things they think you want to watch, which will keep you on the platform longer, which will allow them to sell more ads and stuff. It makes all the sense in the world. It's how everything in the world works. And it is profoundly important. And why, I'm glad you asked me that with my rant on the prior rant, which is why organic social media expertise is the battleground of the next 5 years in marketing. Whoever is best at it will win. I have no interest in people working 15 hours a day unless they're like me, which is, it is their favorite thing to do in the world. For me, it is my hobby. My profession is my hobby. And if that's not you, then you should only work 7 hours a day. When I don't do things I like, I want to do them for 1 minute a day. And if you don't like your job, you shouldn't work 10 hours a day. That sounds fucking miserable. That's why I got D's and F's. That's why I don't like going to the gym. That's why I don't hang pictures on the wall, because I don't like handyman shit. Other people can't wait for tomorrow, it's a Friday as we're recording this, to do work around the house. They enjoy it. It's their therapy, it's their ASMR. Fuck that shit. I would rather rip my arm off than fucking paint a fucking wall. Everyone's different.
You know what's heavily underrated too? It's, as you're talking about, you don't want to do these things. It's, if you're an entrepreneur, designing the organization around your strengths.
Oh, that's the only way I've built all my companies. The first thing I do every time I build a company is surround people with strengths in the things that I don't like to do that are most important. We hired a head of legal, Mark Yudkin, who's now my COO, is my fucking brother. We hired him way too early. We couldn't afford him. I went for it. I was like, fuck it, we're gonna need this, and I'm not reading a fucking contract. Are you in fucking mind? So
I'm with you. You know, you said this on a podcast years ago. I think someone asked you just straight up, how much money do you make, Gary? And then at the time it was like $5 million or whatever. Like how much, and I think I'm not even going to ask you that question. This ties in with the question that you had with My First Million. So they asked you this. Your pod's not live yet with them, but what's the difference between billionaires versus millionaires?
Look, I think there's a lot of differences. I think the one that most stands out for me, or one of the things that most stands out for me, is there's a lot. And it's funny, I'm trying to recall what I said to those guys, and it's not popping up.
You want a hint?
No, I actually don't, because I think it'll be more interesting for you, let alone everybody else. To me, it's their obsession with losing. How much do they love the game, right? How purebred are they? I think billionaires tend to like it way over the things that come along with it. Their tolerance for losing, right? Their self-awareness, putting yourself in a position to succeed, And there's serendipity. There's, do you recognize where the economics are? I think there's tons of people who are millionaires that could have had the potential to be billionaires if they just picked a different genre to put their energy against, a better business model, right? I think about that a lot. I know I didn't go into that with them. Like I think about that a lot. Those things stand out.
Makes sense. Yeah, what you had said was the willingness to walk backwards.
Yeah, to go to zero. Yeah, that goes back to the love of the game. I defined it more for them. I think that I'm on that path, and I think whether I get there or not is completely, I could give a fuck. Because by the time when I get there, it's not gonna be as cool anymore anyway. Like it's starting to get to a place where like people are like, well, that's common. And plus, there's so many people claim it that aren't it. I'm willing to go to zero. And I do think that there is some realities to that. I think the risks that are required for the bets that turn out to be those things are sometimes and oftentimes grounded in a Bezos or an Elon or an Oprah willing to take a risk that would have taken him all the way back or zero. And I want the kids to hear this. It doesn't mean like they were like really gonna go to zero, but it was like gonna mean that they weren't gonna make any money for 5 years. Right? Like I'm definitely in that place. I'm willing to go there, not put myself out of business, but fuck myself up for a good 7 years because I'm not worried about the judgment.
You only need your safety net. What's the safety
$1
net?
$1 million in cash.
That sounds kind of low.
Well, listen, for people that are very fortunate that have crushed it, for every normal person, you're like, that's an insane amount of money. And I think my normal person DNA is so much greater than my entrepreneur that crushed it DNA that I'm just very aware that $1 million in cash, a lot of people won't earn that because don't forget, you gotta pay taxes. So like I just feel like if I lost everything and had $1 million, and again, we're not playing some weird fantasy game, I'd still be me. I would have just learned whatever the fuck I did to lose it all, which would have been a big learning experience. And I'd still be me. I could turn $1 million into $20 million just flipping shit on eBay.
That's funny. What would you flip on eBay?
I mean, the reality is it goes back to listening. I would go to eBay and take a look at trends. I mean, me and my brother AJ were buying video games and vintage rock t-shirts to flip on eBay in 1999.
Oh, those video games.
Think about how right we ended up. And that only happened because you could see the data starting to emerge. I'm not sure if marbles are popping off or scarves or magnets or cocoa melon early collectibles. I don't know what's popping on eBay like that, but I promise you, if I was back to zero and I had $1 million, no question, buying and selling shit would be the first thing I'd go to. Because for me and my skill set, 1 to 5 million would come fastest as buying something and selling it for more.
Got it. I want to talk about VeeFriends, but before we get to that, I remember there was a clip of you talking to another, I'll just call him an influencer. I'm not even gonna name names, but this guy was asking, you guys were collaborating. He's like, who works harder, you or me?
Works harder?
Yeah.
And I said me.
You said, there's just no way I work harder. And it's like 18 hours a day, right? Do you think it takes 15 to 18 hours a day, or is it just more so because you enjoy it?
More so than enjoy it. I think there's, on the record, so as cool as that little peacocking flex is, let there be no confusion. There are tons of people that work 8 hours a day who make more money than me and are happier than me. I'm really fucking happy, but and I mean really fucking happy, but I'm not delusional enough to not think that there's people who are equally, if not more happy and work 8 hours a day, and that's awesome. And by the way, I envy that zero. No, I don't think working harder is some sort of cool flex. I think it was misunderstood by society. Working harder when you fucking love the shit out of it. I love when everyone tried to pin me 7 years ago of you're the hustle porn guy. I remember that article that was written. And I was like, this is so fucked up. This is so not taking the words out of my mouth, and you're completely taking me out of context. Literally my first book was Crush It, How to Cash In on Your Passion. Why'd you take the passion part out? Because I've been on the record that I did no homework in high school. I don't believe in work if you fucking hate it. I'm actually the most extreme example of all in when you love it and fuck that shit if you hate it. I just told you about the sign thing. I don't think you should work at all if you hate it. I don't know how you're gonna live, but fuck. So no, I don't, thank you for asking that question because it's giving me a few minutes to really break this down. I think people continue to not hear me and others on this. Working a lot is only cool if it starts with you fucking love it, comma, yes, do I think if you do 100 push-ups that would be better for your physique than 30? I believe in that. Volume, quantity is not debatable.
Yeah.
So if I versus me, my twin brother who is exactly me, Barry, if I work 12 and he works 7 and we were the same, yes, I would get more outcome. It's the way it is, sorry. But all these people that work 10, 12 hours a day to be an entrepreneur, to act cool, all to just make money so that they can go ball out and are living lives where they're fucking drinking a bottle of vodka at night to deal with their pain, that's not happy, that's not good, that doesn't work out. And so no, that's how I don't think it requires hours. I think it requires self-awareness, right? You have to know yourself. Some people don't even have the natural energy to work that much.
Right.
Like that's fucking hard. But I think the energy comes from loving it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I can't run on a treadmill for 20 minutes. This is real now. I really can't. Like fast, right? But I can play 4 hours of basketball straight, which is actually harder on my 48-year-old body.
Yeah.
Because I love it, I go. And because I think running on a treadmill is the worst shit of all time, I can't. This thing is so underrated, bro. This thing is so fucking, bro, this thing is so underrated. And the other one, because now I'm rolling, this thing. I believe when we're dead and we're looking down from heaven, that intuition, the second brain, will be much more understood. No one's talking about it. I can tell you right now, this has made all the good decisions.
Yeah.
This has kept it from being delirious.
Yeah.
But this has been everything. And no one's, and that's above my pay grade, but I'm telling you, this fucking thing and this fucking thing, both of them, right now by us humans, and we're getting cool now, like ice plunge, fucking psychedelics, grounding, like we're starting to figure, like we're starting to become more, old school. Like everything that's hot right now amongst influencers, my great grandma Babushka Anya made me do. When I was 6 and she would visit us in Edison, she'd like wake us up in the morning dew, this is real talk, and make us go outside and walk barefoot. I'm like, what are we doing? We're supposed to be Americanized, this is so weird. And now the coolest kids in LA are like, give me the grass. And I was like, fucking Babushka Anya. So old school's becoming new now, but I promise you the thing that no one's talking about yet, for real, that I think is gonna be common talk in 50 to 100 years is this motherfucker.
The intuition, the gut.
And everybody wants to, we went over rational the last 100 years. Number one, strategy. So let's talk about this. The way you set it up, I'll give you the actual answer. Hey, Sally or Johnny, you've gotten to $100,000 as a side hustle. We're halfway home. By the way, I'll make this even more exciting. If somebody's made $11,000, I'll take it down.
Let's go there.
I'm gonna go there. So you're telling me you made $11,000 either in ads from YouTube, or you sold a t-shirt, or you've done 2 brand deals. And wait a minute, you're telling me you're doing that with 1 or 2 hours a night because you got a family and you need some rest and you actually work 9 to 5 to begin with and there's a commute. And you've been able to make $11,000 with just an hour or so? That means you already have the propensity and the knowledge that this could easily be $200,000 if you just amortize out the hours, right? Or $400,000. So first, it's just a strategy of realizing it can happen because most people don't think it can happen for them.
What do you mean amortize the hours?
Well, if you make $11,000 and you only spend an hour a day on it, and that means you're putting 5 hours a week because on the weekends your kids have 3 different sports and this, that, the other thing. Well, if you're spending 5 hours on it a week to make $11,000, what happens if you spend 60 hours on it?
Okay.
Right? So if you amortize out the average amount of money you make per hour, what happens is once you give up the job and you go full time on it, and of course we have to talk about savings and be able to afford to make the leap. There's things to talk through here. But the first place I go to the person you just talked about, is making them realize that there's a high percentage chance that if they've already made 11,000, not 0, for everyone who's listening who's saying, I'm gonna, I don't wanna hear your I'm gonna. I'm only talking to the people that have done and have made over $10,000 as a 1 hour side hustle a day. Now, if you tell me, no, Gary, I actually put 29 hours into 10,000, then I'm like, okay, let's take a step back. You're not as good as that other person, right? Because it's just math. But what I want them to know is they can. They need to know they can. That, and that's...
What are 3 things, this person right now, what are the 3 things that you're saying? Listen, buy the book. After the book, here are the 3 things I need you to do or try.
Well, look,
this
real talk. If they, and you know this, ladies, if they buy the book, all the answers to my question are in the book, and I don't mean that as a book plug. Like, go to Pirate Bay and steal it. I don't give a shit.
Buy the book. It is very actionable.
It is very actionable.
It is a homework book.
Here's what you two know, because you guys are deeper. Like, this is even deeper. Like, Jazz, this is really fun. Like, you may know, you probably agree with me on this. This shit's deeper than 4Ds.
Oh yeah.
Like, this $28 fucking.
Right.
So what do I think? The answer is very simple. I believe whoever makes the most amount of meaningful content in the world wins. Whether that's YouTube, me, Alex Earl, Charlie D'Amelio, Logan Paul, like I don't know, like it's not complicated. Whoever is best at social media, creative, organically, not paying ads. In that scenario, the dog walking person needs to make as much content as she or he can about dog walking. Now there's ways to do that. Someone's like, well, how? Where everyone gets stuck is, what do I make?
All the time, Gary. It's the number one question.
Well, just green screen alone. I can literally right now Google, I'm gonna do it actually. I can Google dog walking. I'm gonna do this on the spot. Like we're being really, we're doing a moose boosh. We might as well do it. Dog walking. All right, when I type in dog walking, now I'm gonna go to a very important place on Google. News.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh,
Great.
I see what he's doing. I know what he's doing.
First result. Kim Kardashian used to be Madonna's dog walker. Right? Literally, yes. Here it is, okay?
I recently saw that. I did see that online, yes.
Well, if you're a dog walker, I'm screen shooting this, like I just did, and I'm making a green screen that says, hey everybody, see what dog walking can do for you? You can eventually, and the fact that you responded that way, that all of a sudden becomes a video that might get 80,000 views on TikTok from someone who's never made a video or has historically sucked at it. They did a green screen, there was no production value. I can do my own green screens. When I started doing them on my team chat, I'm like, all of you are in trouble, I might not need any of you. I might just green screen my way. But here's why it's important. When that gets 80,000 views, because my profile on Instagram, YouTube Shorts, TikTok is perfectly done. My bio's right, my link is there, my phone number's there, my email's there. You're gonna get 7 customers from it. And on, and on, and on, and on. There's nothing more important than organic social media.
Okay, I agree, but using your book, because I write notes in my books, and my friends, when I share my books, they write notes back to me, but I had written more relevant to a variety of demographics is what results in sales. So content isn't enough. Content that scales a brand revenue is the goal, but you had said that relevancy is the stuff that is going to get you the results that you want. That was the key thing that I took away as the biggest takeaway. It's not just content, it's relevant content. So using that Kim Kardashian and Madonna, it would be, wow, you can talk about dog walking and get attention from somebody who would never be paying attention to you, because if you could hashtag Kardashian or Madonna,
that's right.
So I just wanted to make sure that we're connecting the dots.
Let me give you another one. I'm just gonna keep flowing. Now now as a dog walker, you make a video that's titled, why dog walking is the perfect first job for your 14-year-old. And then the video is, hey parents, do you have a child that you're ready to get a job for, but they're kind of pushing back because they're cliche Gen Z? Let's talk about dog walking. Now, why that's important, when you put that into the algorithms, that's gonna reach parents. So now you do Kim Kardashian, now you do the 14-year-old mom thing, now you do something else about best practices for dog walking, now you do something that's titled why German Shepherds are perfect for dog walkers, and you do all this stuff. You put it all organic. To your point, it's hitting the world. But the first 4 videos, including the Madonna, Kim Kardashian one, only get 40 views because you just started. But the 7th one that says why every poodle owner should not get a dog walker in the first 6 months, it's titled that way. And you talk about it. When that one gets 8,000, now you're like, wait a minute, this video is better than the other ones. Then you take that video, you slightly tweak it, you take the original video, and at the end you add another part of the video, and if you need a dog walker, hey Des Moines, if you need a dog walker, I'm available, link in bio, here's my email. You then run an ad. In a 10-mile radius or all of Des Moines, you spend $90 on Facebook, Instagram. 90. You see how it does. You get 4 emails because of that. You're like, holy shit, this is remarkable. You can then spend 200 more, 400 more. So that's why you have to go organic, because you can then turn it into performance and sales after you see if there's interest in the general video, and you make it localized, whether you're a barber or a hairdresser or a landscaper or a flower shop or a liquor store or a bowling alley. You got it? You go general, you let the algorithm confirm there's something there. Once you do that, you make it slightly, you tweak it slightly to be localized and a little more selly, because you're selling, and then you run low amounts of media, specifically on Meta, because Facebook and Instagram perform better right now than TikTok and YouTube Shorts, and then you could scale it from there, and we go into that, but that's the fucking game. Corporate and entrepreneurs and creators alike love or. Everybody loves or, brother. People love or. And meanwhile, over here, the brilliant one, the good brother of the 2 brothers, because or's the bad brother, is and. And sitting over here being like, yo, I'm here, I can solve all your problems. Like, it's unbelievable right now. I'm gonna do a really interesting exercise. I think people are gonna email me about this. My email is Gary@VaynerX.com, VaynerX. Email me only, because I get too many emails. Email me only if something profound just happened when I do this. Please stop, forget about this interview, I hope you're enjoying it, and think about 1 or 2 or 3 things you're struggling with right now in life, forget about even business, and just tell me if you replace the or thinking with and thinking. I can do both. And that, not or. By the way, this happens all the time in my life when I do this with my inner circle of friends, family, associates. It's shocking what happens to your ability to solve a problem when you follow and versus or. And so if something just unlocked for you and you like are on your way, please let me know, because I'd love to. The answer is and. Of course you should do what's working. It's like being a brand. Gary, should we market to heavy users? Hell yeah. We need to keep them and hopefully get another unit out of them. But Gary, what about prospecting new users? Hell yeah. We want people to start the process of becoming a heavy user. So, of course. And that's actually the issue with brand guidelines and tone of voice. It makes everything so limited, nobody can make stuff. And it's all politics. People are treating individual social media posts like a Super Bowl commercial. The meetings, brother, cost more than just posting the content. And back to that, when people are like, change that adjective or change that color purple to blue, post both.
Right, see what works. You have to try different things.
Yeah, and remember, it's an ad. They're both ads. If you're willing to run the same commercial on television 4,000 times on a flight, why wouldn't you post the same piece of content twice with different colors or a slight change in adjective? People have got it all wrong, brother. I'm telling you, the game is broken. Fortune 5000 treats social like a bastard child when it's the golden goose, and their operational vigor and processes are based on television, which you take 9 months to think through something to get it out in the world, versus something that I just wrote a book called Day Trading on. Like, this is day to day. And it's an amazing opportunity. You can advertise every single day and things may pop. And then you'll sell stuff and get insights. It is crazy to me. All out of absolute ideology of the past, audacity, creatives that don't want to do in social because they're too good for it, forgot that they weren't good enough for Hollywood, so who are they? Like, the whole thing's broken, bro. The whole thing's broken. It was enjoyable, right? I was trying to build an internet business and a retail business for my dad's store. To your point, I literally made the signs. When I say I made the signs, I literally, like, an hour of my day every day in my 20s was going around the store making new displays of things I wanted to sell, and then taking out like an 8x10 piece of hard paper and taking a marker and making signs and putting it up and watching consumer behavior and trying to learn how to write emails that made people buy things back in 97, 98, 99, 2000, buying my own Google AdWords, managing, operating, early on in my creator career from 2006 to 2013. All of my content I did myself. I filmed it, I put it up. Like, I wrote every tweet. Honestly, it's the days that I most miss. It's fun. I love the journey. I'm at a weird point in my career where now people know me, and that's different. That's a new phenomenon for me, and I'll never do a new business or a new venture where it'll be in the dark. And I missed the dark. I missed nobody paying attention to my mad scientist ways and clocking in and clocking out and putting in the work and learning and making mistakes and adjusting and really honing my humility and confidence and balancing those two, and consumers and listening for the opportunity to talk. So much of my career is based on what I say. Most people don't realize most of my day is listening, reading my DMs, watching what's happening, what's trending, seeing mango gummies go viral before it's written about or covered on a great show like this. I pride myself on having my pulse to the beginning of things, and our micro moments, viral moments, actually previews of macro consumer trends. I'm gonna say that really slow one more time, because I think this could be the one sentence that brings value to senior marketers that are listening. Can a micro viral moment be the beginning of a macro consumer trend? These are things I really care about. And so back, what was it like? It was the best, especially because I was building it for my father, right? I was very obsessed, probably unhealthy, obsessed in giving back to my parents, bringing us from the Soviet Union to America. I put my parents on a pedestal. They're my best friends. I love them the most. And I knew I was a talented kid with business because I proven that to myself with baseball cards and early times that I worked in the liquor store from 14 to 20. And so the early days were awesome in building the business, and the early days of being a content creator were awesome because I was learning the craft. I think something that makes VaynerMedia, my agency, so unique is I'm the chairman, CEO, but I am an active executor of our services, and am easily, and this is with all due respect, I apologize to all 2,000 employees that work for me when they hear this, but I'm easily the most proficient and skilled at the craft as well within the organization. That is unheard of, brother, in advertising. Every CEO that I compete with is sitting in an ivory tower of a corporation, predominantly in Europe, that couldn't post on a social network or know how to run a media play or know what, LiveRamp is or data lakes or DMPs or forget about what I wrote about in this book, the first 3 seconds of a video and the creative variable and the copy and the time you post, the science around the art. I mean, this is my craft. Do you understand that I've been grinding every day for 15 years to build up this audience of mine that I treated like email marketing, meaning I would try to put out a piece of content that brought them value, but I knew that I put in all this work and I had 15 million followers and a percentage of them would see it, just like email and email open rates. Now, you, brother, can post a video today around ping pong, around this blog or this podcast or this whatever. And if the content is right of the moment culturally and uses best practices on platform, and the book I talk about it as PAC, Platforms and Culture, the fact that you can get more views than anything I've ever made in my career, that is a level of creative meritocracy and consumer insights to why it happened that Fortune 500s dream about and spend millions of dollars on. And I can't believe that they continue to disrespect this as content. These are ads, social media ads. This is a new thing at VaynerMedia. We banned content. It is social media ads. And even the word test. Do you know that we've also banned test? And you're not wrong about the way you said it. But when you say, hey brand, you can test and learn up until, and they just think it's a proxy to the commercial. To me, this is advertising for the sake of better advertising. John, let me say this. I start the book with the ocean spray example that it all sold out across America because of one TikTok. More recently, Walgreens has a private label called Nice. You probably bought their nuts like everybody else at the register at times, right?
And I've bought like their water for $5 for 24 before. Oh yeah.
There you go.
You bet.
They have a private label named Nice, and one of the things they make amongst peanuts and water is mango gummy candies.
Right.
So this is on your radar?
Yep. Yeah, we've reported on it actually a few weeks ago.
I love you, because that means you are doing God's work to changing this industry. A single post, as you know, of mango gummy, Nice private label mango candy, went out, caught fire, and every bag at Walgreens across America sold out. So much so that if everybody who's listening right now goes to eBay, opens up the app or their laptop, and goes to eBay and types in Nice, mango gummies, enter, and then if they know how to use eBay, go to completed items and click, you will see that many people have bought them for a massive arbitrage on the flip because the demand was that significant. A single ad, not even done by an agency or a brand, sold out this product across America in record time, had enormous economic impact, and there is not a single example of a television commercial achieving that in the last 5 years.
Play the hand you're dealt and stop making excuses.
You know, when people hear that, I don't want them to hear that like, hey, who cares that you had an abusive father? Stop complaining. Like, that's hard. If you had an alcoholic father who hit you, that's impossibly challenging. I'm not saying, who cares, move on with your life, you loser. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there are many people in the world who did the exercise, the therapy, the reading, the positivity in their ears, who were able to overcome adversity to live a productive life. I'm saying that if anybody in the world has ever achieved happiness and success under your circumstances, then you are capable of it. My mother lost her mother at 5.
Wow.
Well, how much more adversity do you want? And she went on to become the greatest mother of all time. You know, so I think it's incredibly important. There's not a person listening, not a person right now behind the scenes or me and you that didn't have plenty of adversity in different ways. We all have our own adversities. I'll give you an example. I now believe one of the most adverse situations to be born into is extreme wealth. Something I would have never thought of 30 years ago. That if you told me, hey, Gary, give me a scenario where you immediately are going to worry for that person's life, I would say growing up, being born to a billionaire family that's 3rd generation wealthy. That level of potential nepotism and judgment is profound. So when somebody grows up poor in a village with no water, it's very hard for them to be empathetic to a 3rd generation billionaire's kid. However, until you walk in someone else's shoes, you don't know. And I can tell you, some of the deeply, deeply most unhappy people I know on earth are the ones that were born with the most, because it's a very challenging upbringing.
Reminds me of a quote that says, the hard way is hard, but it's not as hard as the easy way.
Oh, I like that quote. I've not heard that often. I think now that you've said it, I might have heard it once or twice.
You took me there with your last story.
I love you for that. It's a great quote. It's true. Because everything in life has a price. It just does. And I think, I think it's really, I like that quote a lot.
Is suffering necessary for existence?
I think it's less about, is it necessary for existence? I wish that many of us could live life without suffering. I just think it is. You know, if we as humans are capable of loving, which we all are, it means suffering's part of the story. I mean, suffering is just a part of the journey. So I think I wish it wasn't a necessity. It's less of like, do I believe that somebody can live a perfect life? I mean, in theory, you'd like to think yes. But I think that's a little bit of delusion. There's nobody who will live a life, you know, especially if they're lucky and get to live a life to 80, 90, 100. not only will you deal with suffering, you will deal with multiple variations of suffering. And so humans love. And if you love, that means suffering is part of the equation. And so, yeah, I think it's part of what we signed up for.
I mean, some of my biggest lessons in life, I grew from my first heartbreak. I grew from working under a toxic boss for 13 years.
Of course.
Before I started this. I grew from falling out with my best friend and cousin. And it made me a more resilient person.
No question. Adversity is the foundation of success.
Like that.
It just is. And so as long as one can contextualize their suffering, let's use your cousin. I don't know the story. If you choose optimism, if you sit here today as a young man and say, that was horrible, I say maybe, but maybe we can say, look at how many years did you have a very good relationship with your cousin? I'm asking you, how many years?
All my life.
Give me the number.
38 years.
I view you as very lucky. I was born to a very small family. Most of my family heritage was lost in the Holocaust. I don't even have a single cousin that's my age. So I hear that, and I look at my children and their relationships with their cousins, and I hear 38 years with a cousin as best friend. I view to choose optimism. I view you as lucky that you had 38 years of that. I'm quite back to suffering. When you have 38 years of that, when you don't have that, it hurts. And there's a lot of pain that came along with that for both of you, I'm sure.
Truly.
But I view it from my seat as an opportunity for you to view it as a remarkable gift that you had at all, right? There's that saying about losing love, but never having it at all, something like that. That's what you had with your cousin. You had 38 years of love, experiences, positive memories. Currently, the taste is not as good. But as you get older, my friend, only one thing will happen. The negativity will subside and the fondness of those first 38 years will grow, which is why so many people that love each other reconcile. The likelihood of you and your cousin you haven't reconciled yet. The likelihood of the two of you reconciling after 38 years of good is very high. It may take 4, 7, 12 years, and it may never happen. Sometimes people are too stubborn. Sometimes humility on both sides is lacking. But there's times where truly, if God was looking down, one person was 100% wrong. It's rare, but it happens once in a blue moon. And usually that's the reason there is no reconciliation. But anytime anyone has a problem with somebody, in that scenario, they're a contributor. Let me be very vulnerable. I have feelings towards people I resent. It was only into my mid-40s that I realized I was a contributor. My lack of candor in not telling people that I loved what was bothering me was the enabler for them to do more of it. Is that their fault, or was I a contributor to it? This has been one of the things I've been thinking a lot about. For some reason, we've weaponized the word hustle as a negative to mental health. In my world, there's no correlation. First of all, let's break down the word hustle. Instead of weaponizing the word hustle, like many people on the extreme side of delusion, I view the word hustle as the word hard work. As a matter of fact, maybe something you know and others here know is I've stopped using hustle and now I just use hard work. To me, it's always meant the same thing. So I believe in hard work. I really have no idea how you achieve anything without it. Not in the gym, not in self-esteem, not in complacency, not in mental health, and definitely not in business. So for me, hard work does not have any contribution to burnout or mental health issues. Why people burn out and have health issues is because they're not self-aware and because they're insecure. If you're working 14 hours a day, taking drugs, doing the wrong things, all to achieve $1 million to impress others, you will 100% of the time burn out. When you work 15 hours a day because you like it more than any other thing you could be doing those 15 hours, more than playing football, more than cooking, more than watching a movie, more than listening to Drake and Kendrick Lamar, more than anything in the world that you would rather do is work than anything else, the only thing you're guaranteeing yourself is good mental health. I think the world has this wrong. I think the word hard work has been demonized by people that don't want to put in hard work. And I believe that there are unlimited people out there who hustle, who are incredibly happy. And I personally know hundreds, if not thousands of people who are incredibly balanced in their 35 hours of work a week, who are deeply insecure, have major mental health issues. There's no correlation of the two. And I loved how you responded, because we've brought them together and we have it completely confused. Talk about something that I talk a lot about that the kids don't like. People, when I say patience, one of the most fascinating things that has happened in my life's journey is realizing people will take words and give them definitions that are not of that word. Mo, do you know that most young people that DM me, that push against me for patience, describe it not as patience? When they hear me talk about patience, they think I'm saying indecisiveness, non-action, or worst of all, most people misinterpret patience for complacency. The last thing I am is complacent. The last thing I am is indifferent or impatient. I think that patience is incredibly important. Insecurity is predicated on needing validation from others. No wonder so many guys are impatient to make $1 million because they want to buy a BMW and a Rolex to impress the opposite sex and their friends. When you are actually secure and self-confident, you can lean on patience to be your friend. When you lean on patience to be your friend, you achieve much greater success. Shortcuts and missteps have direct correlation to mitigating and limiting your upside. The more patience you have to pill it out, the more likely you will succeed. Most people's impatience comes from one source: insecurity. I've got to get famous now. I've got to make $1 million now. Why? They need that asset for everybody else. If you believe that everything in your life is your fault, it's actually a path to happiness. If you think it's the government's fault, if you think it's your parents' fault, your boss, someone who screwed you, you feel not in control. You don't feel in control, you feel helpless. You feel helpless, you feel anxious. The only thing that gives me anxiety is health, because I don't feel in control. I can do the right things, push-ups, eat well, but I still am too educated to know sometimes life is challenging when it comes to health. It's just the way you were born. So health gives me anxiety, but everything else does not, because I'm accountable. I believe the world has become intoxicated with pointing fingers. Everybody is now actively, as a hobby, spending their time deploying judgment on the internet, at their dinner tables, on everybody but themselves. Most people, when they hear me say this, confuse it. They hear beating yourself up. If everything is your fault, you are happy. Most people that are listening right now say, I do that all the time and I'm deeply unhappy. I'm not saying beat yourself up. I'm saying give yourself grace. I love who I am. I'm very aware I make many mistakes. I'm accountable for those mistakes. Too many people that when they hear accountability think it's deploying negativity towards oneself. This is not about self-love. This is about true accountability. I genuinely believe that true accountability makes you feel empowered and allows for the thing that makes us all happy. Your ability to deploy humility and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I changed my mind. That is the antidote. That is the potion. That is the key to a joyous life. Most people are visceral to it because they're deeply insecure.
In other words, the moment you stop making excuses for yourself, the more of a shot you'll have to be happy and successful in life.
Yeah, the second you don't deploy energy on trying to trick everybody else why you don't suck and work on getting better is the second you get better. Think about it.
Yeah.
If you put all your energy, I know I'm looking around because I like the guys in the background. This is how I work. If everybody's watching on film, this is what I do. If everybody here spent all their energy fixing what they know they're not good at versus trying to trick each other that they're not bad at it, it was their boss's fault, or their dad did this, or you did this, Mo. The second you get away from that, you get into a very good place. You get into, I can fix this. But that requires something even higher up, the inability to live life and not valuing other people's opinion. The reason we try to trick each other is we overvalue each other's judgment on us. The reason judgment is so poisonous is the following. When you are in the business of judging everyone else, you become susceptible to judgment. It's a very important thing to understand. If you are sitting at home and you are judging everybody else, judgment on you is effective. When you are not judging everyone else, judgment on you is less effective. This is very profound, Mo, and an important perspective in life. I believe that in life, all of us find what we're looking for. Let's use America and Saudi. If you want to decide that America sucks, you have so much ability to find things to justify your cause. If you want to say that America is remarkable, good news. You have unbelievable things that you can find that justify your point of view. Saudi. You want to say that Saudi's next and unstoppable? I'm here for a reason. I see that. You want to sit at home and be cynical and say, no, it won't happen? Then you can find ways to decide that. Life is about what you're looking for. The world has become incredibly cynical, incredibly no, and I choose optimism and yes. My big thing with cynicism is the following. If you look at every situation and say no, it means it's already no. By you deciding that this can't happen, it won't happen. For you, do you know how much joy I get watching people throw shade at other people only to watch that person succeed and that person that was throwing shame have to eat humble pie? That's enjoyable because I respect the person in the arena. If you sit at home and you're tweeting or throwing judgment at Mo Salah or Ronaldo or whoever you want to pick, you're sitting at home, you're not playing.
Yep.
It's very nice that you think he stinks. You are sitting on your couch, on your phone, judging world-class athletes. I think that if those world-class athletes valued all the people on Twitter saying they stink, they won't perform.
No chance.
That's what I want for humans that are listening. If you're going to worry about your friends saying you stink at entrepreneurship or accounting or being a lawyer or your parents or whoever, that will immediately create a scenario where you will not be able to achieve. Now, there's a key to this, Mo. I'll use myself as an example. The reason I'm okay with people saying negative things about me on the internet is because I equally don't hear the accolades. If I don't believe them when they say I stink, I can't believe them when they say I'm the GOAT.
Stay neutral.
Neutral. And this is where everyone makes a mistake. They love the flattery, which makes them susceptible to the negativity. For me, I'm humbled. I'm so appreciative. It feels tremendous. But I don't get my validation from people's accolades, which is why I'm not susceptible to people's tearing down. I just stay in my game, put my fingers in my ears, and I work. And brick by brick, steel by steel, concrete by concrete. And then life will happen. Either you build a very big building or you build a very small building. But everybody will see the building. And so that's what I spend my time on.
Anyone who knows you, really knows you, would say Gary's the most empathetic person I know.
I believe it's the single thing that the world is missing. If you are unable to feel the other person, then you will never be able to make decisions that factor in that person's feelings. In all of our conflicts, black, white, religion, countries, men versus women, genders, Gen Z versus boomers. If you're 23 and you're Gen Z and you don't have empathy and you can't feel what your 63-year-old father went through to allow you to even have the luxury to make fun of him, well, then you're going to have a problem in understanding. And so I believe that compassion, sympathy, and empathy are incredibly important traits. I've been blessed with it. You're right. It's probably one of my most distinct personality traits. I also think it makes me a remarkable salesman. I believe the reason I've been so good at investing and selling is because I can feel the other person. So if I can feel you, well, then I'm going to be able to know what to say to you to tell you why you should consider these sneakers or this coffee or this hat. So I believe that empathy is an incredibly beautiful, selfish and selfless tool. And I'm proud to say I feel comfortable in the way that I balanced that superpower.
So rare in today's world. There's more of a divide than we've ever seen.
Yeah, and I think people are intellectually lazy. I think people are scared. I will say that one of the problems we have, one of the things that is very obvious to me of why I resonate is I believe that most people sell fear.
Fear-mongering.
Fear is how you control people. Fear.
Absolutely.
So I'm very proud that I sell love. I really do. Sometimes people think that it's too much goody-goody. I don't know. I think it's important. But to your point, I'm also not a very easy read. You go through your social media feed, some of the people listening right now are listening, going into this interview, not loving me because maybe I curse and they don't like that. Maybe it's too much energy and they're a chill dude, and I'm actually very empathetic to the people that don't like my content. I understand. What I'm proud of is as every day goes by, I think I get more pro than con. And that's what you try to do if you're trying to leave a legacy or a good reputation. You let the work speak for itself, even if you may be misunderstood up front.
Yeah.
But I'm also not willing to not be authentic. I remember early in my career, CAA represented me for speaking and they called me and they said, man, we're getting a lot of interest in you. You have it. They said 2 problems. You dress too casual and you curse. If you start wearing a suit and stop cursing, you can get double your fee and we can book you 5 times more. They didn't even finish the sentence. And I said, men, I'm very humbled. And I know you're trying to do right by me, even though you're getting a commission. I go, here's the problem. I don't have it in me. Same with my communication style. I'm aware that I'm a little aggressive and hyper, but I don't want to conform to get some people to like me, not because I don't respect them or I don't want them to listen to me. Honestly, Mo, it's because I can't. There's a reason I was a poor student. There's a reason that I can't hang a picture on the wall. If I don't like to do something, I'm not doing it. Not because I think I'm better than, I'm genuinely not capable. I think it's fear. I think about my dad a lot. My dad, I think it's how people view their ability to go backwards. So I think that there's something very scary about my chemicals. And Sam, I've always felt this in you as well. It's funny that you brought it up. I don't know if I don't know you well enough to know this, and I'm not even sure you're going to believe me when I say it, but I do think you have a good shot of understanding what I'm about to say. My favorite Rocky is Rocky 6 when he goes back to Philly with nothing.
Yeah.
Sean, there's something so weird in me, and it's almost like, am I sandbagging myself? Like, I'm going to be very vulnerable here. Like, I don't view it as like I'm cool. I actually view it as I'm potentially flawed, right? Like there's something in me that romanticizes being okay with it all falling down. I'm back in like Queens in a $400 a month apartment. The entire internet is like, see, he was fucking overrated. I told, all the people that love me, all the friends they have that don't love me are like, see, your fucking guy was a loser. He fucked it up. He sucks. I don't know why I like that, but I believe, Sam, to answer your question, it's something to do with that chemical. I believe the people that, I think you brought up some good stuff. I think a lot about if my dad had a supermarket instead of a liquor store, I would have taken that to way bigger heights because liquor was, you couldn't ship it. And,
sure.
There's a
That's like the luck component.
Yeah, there's a ton of serendipity. Like, honestly, I think a lot about if my dad didn't want me to work in his store, I would have went to, because I fell in love with tech, I might have went to California, and who the fuck knows what I've created in 95, 6, 7, 8, like could have had one of those Mark Cuban moments. Like, I think about that. Or, I think when you can sell, for everyone who's listening, and if you have kids like this, if you can sell, you're in the game, right? Like if you can sell,
You'll never be like zero, right? And so, what do you got here? How do you want it? Is 1234.com available?
No, dude. 1234 is owned by like a telecom.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That's impossible. I like the 137. Yeah, do that.
Are you kidding me?
Dude, I love that. That was so dope.
I'm so pumped about this, bro.
The funny thing, by the way, Ben, my guy, he texted us a screenshot of GoDaddy. It's 1234.org, 15,000. He just said, pull the trigger, question mark.
No, don't pull that one. We're good. Actually, this is a good one. I never think you should overpay for names because I think names are made. McDonald's.
Dude, I agree.
Right, Sam? Like McDonald's.
But you know who disagrees? Fucking Dharmesh. Dharmesh.
I know.
Dude, I've been with them multiple times. So Dharmesh founded HubSpot, which bought my company, and I've gotten close with him. He's like, dude, I bought chat.com today. I'm like, why? He goes, because it was available. I was like, well, what are you going to do with it? He's like, I'm not sure, but I'm going to figure something out. But I paid 8 figures for it.
Yeah, look, he's smart. He knows like that, look, as long as .com, I mean, to me, the scary thing let me take a step back, not go too fast. He's smart enough to know he could probably flip that because it's a very, very, very big deal. On the
and he's got stupid amounts of money.
Correct, which is amazing. On the flip side, there is a little concern for me of what happens when this no longer becomes the remote control of our society, right? Like I'm very fascinated by 20 years from now. Talk about 16 years ago on Tumblr. 16 years from now, if you told me that 16 years from now we live in a predominant VR world, I would be like, maybe. Like I can see that possibility, right? You could see that it's pushing in a direction. I don't think it's going to end up being these Apple Pro, Google Glass, Snap, the Facebook thing, Quest. My intuition is that it's going to have to be much more lightweight, but I never underestimate the human being. I'm positive somebody's going to make the contact lenses that work like this, and then we're off to the races. Because now, back to the way I think about day trading attention, this no longer houses the attention. Now it's housed here. Whoever controls that paradigm wins big. And then all of a sudden, does .com even matter in that? Is that how the UI UX works? Because .com didn't matter at all in 1990. When I started the company 14 years ago, everyone's like, what the fuck? Why don't you do search? And I was like, first of all, I thought if I built a very big company, I'd be able to M&A search if I wanted to add it, right? It was already established. I grew up on search the 15 years before. And so here's a good one for the kids. If you're building towards the future, if you're capable, remember that you can always buy the current. And that's how I thought about search. I was going to master social in 2009. And I felt like social was going to eat up search anyway. And I think it's starting to happen now. Like search is in a weird spot. Like Google's in a weird spot. Like it's in a great spot in some ways. But yeah, I think search is definitely a different world. Like if your business, I actually spoke to somebody Thursday who is really getting hurt because he was one-dimensional on search. And I that's such a fear of mine that if you sell your stuff via email, via your podcast, via social media content, via search, you must develop into a Swiss Army knife, because if you're just a fork, if you're just one-dimensional, you're gonna get caught.
Hey, Gary, let me ask you about that. You were saying a second ago, you're like, I'm not afraid to go back.
Yes.
So like the way that I run my personal finances is I've got like my safety net. So I've got this like account that has enough money that I'm good forever.
Same.
And so that's in Vanguard and bonds. And
Same.
so it's like I've never touched that. And
Same.
then anything above that amount, I'll bet it.
Same.
And I'll like start new shit.
Same.
And so you're talking about like you don't mind going back, but it sounds like that's not exactly how you run your finances. So do you have like a safety net, and then anything above that you're like,
yes,
bet it, or do you just use profits from Vayner to make these bets? How does that work?
Yes, I'm comfortably transparent. I'm very fortunate. So my zero is $1 million, but that's it, Sam.
Wait, so you only keep $1 million in your like liquid portfolio? That's your safety net?
No. I have other things, like I have money in all sorts of places, but I have this one place that has $1 million, and literally everything else is in play.
Wow.
Now, Sean, I want to paint a very clear picture here because I don't want to create hyperbole. I haven't bet everything on everything, but if I ever feel the way I felt about Facebook in 2007, when I had $236,000 in savings, I put $200,000 into Facebook, right? If that ever happens again, like I'm willing to bet very large, because that feeling, similar to the feeling I felt about the internet when I saw it in 95, similar to the feeling that I felt about Friendster, MySpace, that little like, oh, the internet's changing. I look for those moments. And, you know, again, I'm willing to go big, but to your point, Sam, like, it's not like I'll go to 0-0, you know, $1 million is a lot of money. And especially if you're capable, like, I don't know, like I feel very confident.
Well, and a reputation.
Yeah, correct. I also think about Face Off, like where you change, like I have like these very like deep, Sean, it goes back to like wanting to win the basketball game. Like, I think the worst thing for my love of entrepreneurship that's happened is what Sam just said. I no longer can do it without anyone knowing. It's a whole different game. It was so fun when people didn't know.
What you're saying reminds me of, two things. I think it's super interesting that your answer to what's the difference you've seen in the mindset, the psychology, was who's willing to go backwards. And almost what you said was, you almost kind of crave, there's like a romantic idea about going back, which I like a lot. I resonate with that a lot. It's almost like there's TV shows I wish I could go watch again for the first time. In the same way, like there's no greater feeling than going from not making it to making it. Once you've made it and you try to make more, it doesn't have the same thrill, adventure, satisfaction, self-respect.
You have to almost go into different games. Like I worry about that. Like I don't worry about it, but I sense that there's a day where I talk a lot about never retiring and dying at my desk. And then there's an equal part of me that realizes that I'm very wired in a way where I just might wake up at 79 and be like, you know what? Like, I'm done. I'm just going to focus on my grandchild's I don't know. I think we're all very, I think we underestimate how long life is. You know, I think we underestimate our capacity to make hard decisions to different directions that we can't see along the way. Then there's back to luck. And, you know, I mean, look, we lived through a lot of prosperity. The three of us have gotten very fortunate of where we lived during what era, right? Like, there's a lot going on in the world. Like, you know, there was people in the roaring 20s talking shit like this over dinner. And then, you know, a very challenging 30 years punched them in the face, right? My professional life is not simplistic, but it is for me, meaning, like I like playing. Like this goes back to the relationship with losing. It's not simplistic, but it is. Let me explain what I mean by that. Let me think of a good example. Something not working out for me, in business, whether it's in the micro of like day-to-day VaynerX land, or if it's in the micro, like an investment or something I put a lot of time and effort into that didn't materialize, I view that like losing the first game of a pickup game. Sam, I'll tell you why it's simplistic. I'm not attached to my professional success or who I am. I'm like in a very weird place with my winning and losing and my Garyvee of it all. Like I care so much, but it's a game. My professional life is a game.
Right.
I don't want to be unhappy. Like I fight for happiness too much. And I think it is in the simplicity. You're right. The day-to-day is chaotic. There's meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, right? But I like it. This is why I'm bringing up the pickup game. I like it. I like juggling 17 balls, and I'm not upset about the 13 that fell on the ground and broke. And more importantly, I'm not worried about the people who are watching me juggle boo when the ball breaks. That I think is massive.
I sometimes work with people that the minute they start a business, they want to outsource a bunch of the stuff, especially the marketing.
Well, first of all, yes. And there's a couple reasons. First of all, most people start a business to buy a Lamborghini or a beach house.
Right.
So they're already dead on arrival because they're not doing it for the game, they're doing it for the money. And so the reason they get out of the dirt is because they don't like the dirt, they don't respect the dirt, they don't appreciate the dirt. They're trying to get to the penthouse, and in fact, a lot of people try to not be in the dirt ever. They think somehow miraculously, like it's very funny out there, and that happens in everything. There's parents that are like that. They never really wanted to parent. There's coaches that think they're gonna hire 2 assistant coaches and they're gonna do everything, and they're gonna walk around and say they're the coach of the baseball team. Like, all things come in all shapes and sizes. There's people that think they'll be in great shape without eating right and going to the gym. Like, okay, like, knock yourself out. It's not gonna work out. Like, so, yeah, I mean, I think, and marketing, to your point, they wanna outsource because a lot of people don't know how to do it. Marketing is hard.
It's hard.
It's hard. It's a dirty secret that people don't wanna admit. Like, this shit's hard. I'm not sure I've ever not gone against the grain. And I'm not kidding. You know, like, yeah, and I think this is where the weird thing is. I have not gone with the grain because the grain is not, by definition, entrepreneurial. It tends not to be consumer centric. It's definitely never of the moment. It's always grounded in yesterday. I was at a big marketing conference in Miami last week, and I said, this was for the Fortune 500 companies, so the BMWs, the Coca-Colas, right, the biggest brands in the world, the Nissans. And I said, the thing with big brand marketing that's crazy to me is you're romantic about yesterday. They're all still trying to do television commercials. You're infatuated with tomorrow.
Okay,
like,
hold on. We got,
right?
Hold on. It's some, holy cow, you would think I was a newbie. That was my phone ringing. And I've never had the ringer on. Gary, I am so sorry.
Please do not edit that out.
Please let me. Please. I thought it was you, Gary. I was like, dude, turn your phone off. Oh my gosh.
So anyway, the industry's infatuated with, romantic about yesterday. They love to do television commercials and all this crazy stuff. They're obsessed with tomorrow. They're thinking about building stores in the metaverse and AI, and we suck at today. This is what I was saying to the industry, and that's, I would say that everything, I mean, when my father told his liquor store contemporaries, other guys he grew up with in the liquor store game in New Jersey, that I was building a website for him, multiple guys that he grew up with asked him not to do it because I was gonna put him out of business. When I started Wine Library TV in 2006, my father and my best friend Brandon and my cousin Bobby thought I'd lost my mind, and I'm not kidding. Like, genuinely. They thought it was weird. They weren't sure what I was doing. I don't know, like, again, Amy, because we've known each other a long time, and actually I think you can really put a pin in this. I think a lot of people back then with Crush It and all this other stuff, I was saying this stuff in 2008, right? Because the book came out in 2009. People thought I was crazy when I said that people were gonna be able to make $100,000 a year talking about things they liked. I mean, I'll be honest with you, ladies, I don't ever think I am conformed to the norms. It's why I got D's and F's my whole life, right? Like, I knew school wasn't practical, it wasn't right for me. And I'm so obsessed with the end consumer that I think I'm with the consumer at scale in a way that most people aren't. Thus, it seems what I'm doing is crazy. Here's a big one. This one's gonna land with you too. Remember when I started filming myself 24 hours a day?
Yes.
Yes.
When I started doing Daily B and doing D-Rock and all that, a lot of people had a lot of things to say behind my back. Who does he think he is? This is so ridiculous. Charlatan, and now it's the norm. It's, for so many, it's the story of my life.
Okay, so question for you then. A lot of people are listening and they do not have the kind of courage or confidence you have to go against the grain. So it's part of who you are. I think you came out of the womb going against the grain. But a lot of people listening, and Gary, our audience, they're making $100,000 in their business and they want to make $1 million. But they are so afraid to do something different, so they continue to do what everyone else is doing. What would you say to them? How do you give them that advice to go against the grain?
Against the grain is actually the practical thing to do. what I say to them is, I know a lot of people that have gone from 100,000 to zero because they didn't want to stop doing Google AdWords or email marketing or pamphlets or courses, or like, what I would say to them is, if you don't put yourself out of business, someone else is going to do it for you.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Right? And just because I want to make sure everyone understood what I was saying there, when I say put yourself out of business, it means you need to try to do different things that might not work. You're not going to put yourself out of business, but what I mean by that is you need to innovate new things for you, because if you don't, someone else is going to do it, and then you're going to be out. And, you know, and like, I mean, look at search. We're literally living in the pre-dawn of AI. The Meta AI, the ChatGPT, these, like, do you know how many people run their entire business by Google AdWords? What if people stopped going to Google to search?
Right.
That's like all the people that lived on Yellow Pages when I was doing websites, and I said, you're gonna lose, you need to have a website, and search engines are coming. But now, people make fun of all those people. Like when I would do talks and everyone, like the Yellow Pages people, they would all laugh, but now they've become the Yellow Pages people. They're one-dimensional Google search. You know, I think the reason, for example, there still is a Garyvee brand is because I want to be in the dirt. I mean, what does the dirt look like? Again, I assume this is audio, but there's also, is there going to be a video component to it? Good.
Yeah.
Let me show you something. This is just real life. You don't even have to go very far, right? Like the dirt looks like this. I'm just gotta pull it up. When I post social media content, right? When I post it, I'm literally, I'm writing the copy to my team of the post, right? Like I'm literally writing, like
that's right.
Like I am like literally writing the copy, right? Like it is. Yes. I don't know what else to tell you. Like I'm reading. I mean, literally, here's the post that all of you like. Obviously this will come out, but here's the post, and there's the copy to the post. I'm the copywriter for my social media posts. I'm giving feedback on it. I'm also reading the comments. I'm DMing people. I'm, you know, in the book, I talk about this role called the PCS, the Post Creative Strategist. This is the person that reads all the comments after you post something for a brand. I do that. I'm a PCS. I strategize the first second of the creative. I talk to the team. I like, to your point, it's happening right now in the meta. I'm at a point in my career, thank God, where this book will sell very well if I did no podcasts and no content. It will. But I want to do it for two reasons. Very frankly, I'm so flattered that I know this is like a nice thing for you two. Like, I don't know how to not continue to do that. I want to give back to the game that built me. And number two, there are many people that are gonna listen to this that are really hearing me in detail for the first time, or might not even have a great perception of me, but love you two, and are like, wait a minute, I never got past the loud or the curse, and like, there is more depth. Like, so I never have a part of me that isn't interested in leaning into humility at all costs. And another way to say the dirt is having the humility to keep doing the core principles that allow you to have the pulse of the consumer.
Okay, so let me be a devil's advocate. So many business teachers and mentors will say, you have to leverage so much in your business. You can't be doing it all. You can't be in the comments. You can't be writing the copy. You hire someone, so you're never going to scale if you try to do it all. But I feel like you're so different than that. So what would you say to that?
That both work. I have 43 full-time employees on my personal brand.
Really? 43
That's
employees
right.
under
Maybe it's like
brand.
29 now. We're sending a lot of them into VaynerMedia. A lot of them I train on my team, and then, but I believe in both. I didn't make all these videos. My team post-produced it. Dustin's filming me right now. There he is. There he is. Hey, Dustin. So I think both are true. I think that, you know, first you have to be able to afford a team. I did all my own stuff for the first 7 years.
Yes.
Then once you can afford a team, this goes back to what Sahil captured from our drinks. Like, cool, but you're also allowed to be in the dirt with your team. Just because you, like, think of it as like farming. So at first you have a little farm and you're the farmer. And then like things get going and your corn is selling. And then you have enough money to hire someone and they're in the field with you. But you should be in the field with them.
How did you reach the top of entrepreneurship? Like, how are you so successful? Why are you an outlier when it comes to the other 500 million entrepreneurs out there?
My perception of it is it's similar to the iconic people in other merit-based worlds, sports, music and entertainment. Like, I think what's cool about business is like, you can't hide. You know, what I love about sports is like, you can say you're good at it, but you have to actually play one-on-one basketball. And if you lose 11-0 to your buddy that you said you're good at it, you're not good at it. Same with business. You could say, you know this, you're growing up in an era, like I grew up in an era where entrepreneurship was not cool. You're growing up in an era where it went completely the other way.
Everybody is.
And everybody says they are, but are they? You know, I'm a rapper. But am I? And so, couple things. One, I think because there's more entrepreneurs than ever, but they're not really entrepreneurs, they're aspiring entrepreneurs. They have entrepreneurial tendencies. And so it seems like there's a lot more. That's one. So to your point, out of all, like the base is bigger. When I was a kid, the word didn't even exist. When I was 13, 16, 19, I'm like, I'm gonna be a businessman. That would be the only word I would use. I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was. As a matter of fact, the first time I even remember hearing the word, it kind of seemed like the thing that like you were a loser actually. Like you said you were an entrepreneur, but like you were living on the beach and your parents, like it had a really and then it went like completely the other way. So that's one. Two, back to sports and music. Like Beyonce was born with her voice and her swag and her talents. Now she put in ungodly amounts of work as a child to today. LeBron, as a child. I think where I really lucked out is I put in a work as a child in a world that almost nobody was doing what I was doing at the time. Like when I tell you I punted school, like I don't believe that people will believe me when I say this. But I know that the Adam Blums and the Garrett Van Fleets and the Pam Moseses and the Robin Martzes and the Robbie Turnicks that grew up with me know this to be true. In high school, I did not do one homework assignment in all 4 years. Not one. Not only that, somewhere around, I believe sophomore year, but it might even been second half of freshman year, I, for 4 years of high school, did not open a book once. I did not hand in one book report. And I guessed on my Scantron all 4 years, A, B, C, B, A, all four. I got zeros on tests. I was 243 out of 254 in class rank. I had a 1.6 something GPA and I got a D in speech. I went so to the extreme. Even today, where entrepreneurship's allowed, we're like a 14-year-old entrepreneur now. We're like, yo, you got it. Like you're the next Zuckerberg, right? And we champion them. Even those kids aren't 100% entrepreneur and completely punt school. It's very rare. So I think the reason I stood out was I put in way more work than everybody and had natural talent.
Yeah.
And that's really the answer. First of all, I would say that I got very fortunate. I think it's in me. It was, if I'm analyzing at 48 years old, it was in my DNA. And then it was reinforced at scale by the person that probably gave me the DNA, my mom. So I think humility, and it's interesting, I appreciate you saying that. I think as I'm getting older, people are seeing it in the action. Because, you know, I'm an interesting communicator. And so, you know, I'm competitive and I'm Jersey and like, you know, I curse. And, you know, I think early in my career, I was very empathetic that like humble wouldn't be like what people first saw. But I'm very proud that as I'm later in my career, the actions, like for you, it's easy as somebody who watches carefully enough that it's something I'm very proud of. And there's much that goes into it. Why is it important to me? It keeps me, I think it's an incredible trait. I think it's a very attractive trait. And I also think it's a very strong competitive advantage. I think humility protects you from delusion. It protects you from getting high in your own supply. And it just protects you from a lot of things that I think are yucky for people that win. You know, like I enjoy being liked more by the people that actually know me than the ones that don't. And there are many people that we all put on a pedestal that are living the reverse life.
Yeah.
And so like it is in my essence. The reason I give back so much is I never want to get away from the kid in the dirt.
Like, I know where I came from. It's important to me. I'm aware that we live in a world now where I will literally say something on this podcast, for sure, because I'm confident in that. That's my confidence, that is going to have a positive impact on someone in a real way, like actually. And that is like incredibly fulfilling. It gets me high. I really almost don't, like, I'm so hardwired to understand why wouldn't I? But I'm very empathetic to why I wouldn't and why others don't. I'll give you an example. I have a friend who just like, she believes like leaving the home, like looking pristine is like the most important thing in the world. And, you know, is there a mix of insecurity there? Sure. But like in her soul, like I know her well enough. It's like, no, this is important. How you present, like, I don't know if I'm taking a minute to get ready and go out. And I get guy and girl night, there's things, right? But everyone's allowed to have things that are religious to them, right?
Yeah.
That are their North Stars. For me, being a nice person and providing back to the game that put me on is everything. You know, it's everything to me. Like entrepreneurship as a framework, especially for kids that came from the dirt, is what was the game that allowed me to have my life. I must contribute to that game at all costs.
For people who don't take risks naturally, who aren't naturally creative, do you think they're cut out for entrepreneurship?
No. I mean, creative is different, but risk is the requirement.
Yeah.
Because you're naturally risking from the second you start. You are saying, I am good enough to stand on my own 2 feet. And I will either succeed in all of your faces or I will fail in front of all your faces. And the majority of human beings on earth do not have the stomach to fail in front of everyone's faces. One of the other ways I could have answered your last question is because I'm not scared to lose.
Yeah.
Why did I achieve a lot? Because I wasn't scared.
Yeah.
There's many things I was scared to do. I don't want to jump out of a plane. So I'm not a good plane jumper. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, my giving a fuck about people's judgment on my failures is zero. And it's been zero for so long that it's so ingrained in me. And if you can't deal with judgment, and if you can't deal with taking a step back, you know how humility works? When you make a lot of, do you know what it feels like? You're going through a very interesting journey, and so a lot of entrepreneurs right now. One of the worst feelings in the world is to make a lot less money professionally than you used to, because you once taste the alternative. Never making $100,000 a year and living $70,000 a year and being happy is one of the great lives of all time. Getting up to $400,000 a year, but then having whatever happened, that job loss, new side hustle lost, and going to 180, that's
tough.
Flying first class and then never being able to afford it, and now sitting middle seat coach, that fucks with people's psyches. Not me.
Yeah.
Not me. And as if, what are you gonna say to me that's gonna make me value your opinion in a world where I know you've got a lot of things not going well too? Social media for the first decade plus was very simple. It was like email marketing. You would get as many people to follow you as possible, and then you would post, and a percentage of those people would see it. That was the game. And that was easy for me to figure out because I did email marketing in 97, 98, 99 when that was new, and I was a big winner in that game. That was underpriced attention. I was competing against liquor stores that were making catalogs, but I was getting to the customer for free instead of how much a catalog cost and getting to them faster. It was huge. It was foundational. So I saw the same thing in social. So I amassed big followings. That was the focus. TikTokification of social media, like I talk about in the book. That interest graph algorithm is now going to eat up everything because it's better. It keeps you on the platform longer. Let's use common sense. You go to your Facebook, you're now 27, you went on Facebook at 18, the people you followed are people you met one night hooking up or at a random party or whatever, and now you're seeing posts of them them in Ohio with their aunt, and you're like, I don't give a fuck. But just like email, we don't unsubscribe from our fucking list. We just delete it or archive it, or we don't put in the work to clean up our shit. So you kept seeing shit you didn't give a fuck about
which made you not spend 4 hours on it. It made you spend 14 minutes on your feed.
Yep.
Then you go to TikTok and you're seeing unlimited shit that you fuck with. And 4 hours later, you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
That's good for TikTok. That was bad for Facebook. Now all of them are gonna be like TikTok, and every social network is gonna have the For You page DNA in them for quite a while now. Maybe forever, because it's more humanly true. That's what I focus on, and that's why focus on your niche is about to fuck up everyone. You're gonna need to talk about more things than ever that are true to you, because you're gonna need that content to find more different audiences for you to be as big as you want to be.
I was gonna ask you, does that mean riches are in the niches now because of the interest graph? But to your point, if you've got multiple topics.
It's an and game. Think about how weird I am. The reason I know everybody from afar, especially in the game you're in, are like, what? Like garage sale videos. Then I mean, my grid has been fucked up for 12 years. And I was like, make a good grid. It's gotta be on brand. I'm like, you fucking have no idea what you're talking about. The grid is like 5% of the consumption. The feed is the whole game. So you go to my fucking thing, you're like, who is this? Jets video, garage sale, keynote, board meeting, V-Friends, what the fuck is that? Like people are like, what? Like I'm confusing the shit out of people because I don't care about the grid. I care about being as relevant to as many different people as humanly possible.
So it's really just about posting one post, and that could go viral to different people rather than...
I'm so glad you just said that. I was about to jump in earlier. Another thing. Let's talk about viral.
Sure.
I'm gonna use baseball. I know it's not as popular anymore, but it's the easiest one. Going viral is hitting a grand slam. Do you know anything about baseball?
A little. I know enough.
Enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
You know what a strikeout is?
Yes.
Good. Most posts are a strikeout.
Okay.
Right? Doesn't do what you wanted to do. I'm in the business of singles and doubles and triples with the occasional home run and grand slam, but could give a shit about hitting a grand slam. Or if you don't follow baseball, everyone, I won't use an analogy. I don't ever think about going viral. Ever. I only think about making good content that is valuable to the people on the other side. And that means that most of my stuff will consistently do solid. Occasionally do better than solid. And once in a while go viral. I believe that most people suck at social media because they try to go viral on every post. And when they don't, they cry to mommy. Posting as much as you can is also based on self-awareness of like, I start with like, do I have something to say that could bring someone value? Again, I need everybody to hear this. That comes in all shapes and sizes. I mean this. If you're funny and you do a skit like King Batch, that's value. You made somebody smile. And it's a fucked up world out there, and the feeds are fucking negative, and media's negative, and like that little ha ha ha. If you're attractive, like people like looking at attractive people. If you know something about LinkedIn, that's valuable to the people that want LinkedIn. Like we all have value. If you know something about BMX or wine or sneaker, like value, value, value. I think people have niched themselves in a corner. What happens if you know a lot about sneakers and you know a lot about bourbon? Post both, but I don't want to the algorithm. And then people are super insecure. They almost never post because they don't think it's going to do well, as if that means anything.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you normally get 5,000 views on your video, and this one got 49. What is, okay.
Yeah, who
like,
cares?
What is the matter with this? At first, if they're meant to be big, the ones we all know, there's so much attention there, but there's less content creators. And so anybody that's posting is gonna get more of the percentage of the attention. As it becomes normalized, it gets harder to go viral or get as many people to see it. And then at some point, it becomes really challenging. Kind of like the thing everyone's dealing with on Instagram right now. Because so much attention got deviated to TikTok. Not that anybody on TikTok is only on TikTok and not on Instagram. Obviously, the very young may be that way, but most people are on both. It's just that pre-TikTok, it was 4 hours on Instagram for that person instead of 2, because 2 is now on TikTok. The problem is, at the same time that went down from an attention standpoint, the amount of content that's being posted on Instagram is through the roof.
Yeah.
So yesterday, more content on Instagram than any day prior in Instagram's history, yet the attention is now fragmented between YouTube Shorts, TikTok, by the way, streaming services, by the way, Twitch, by the way. Like, and so what ends up happening is there's only 24 hours a day, there's only so much attention, but there's more and more supply of content. So you have to know how to day trade it, like a stock, somebody who day trades stocks, you're buying in nanoseconds. Whether it is the actual social media platform, buying ads on the platform, the influencers on the platform to do deals with, or anything else in between. And across all these platforms, from LinkedIn to Pinterest to Snapchat to YouTube Shorts to Facebook to Reels to Instagram, and then the units inside. Do you post carousel? Do you post a video? Do you do a reel? Do you do a long form picture? Do you do a lot of copy? Do you do no copy? Do you do emoji? What time do you post? Like, this is fucking science.
Yep.
And like talent, like if you're remarkably beautiful, that will probably work. If you're remarkably funny, that'll probably work. But for the most people, like being good at it is the point of this book. I really this is the most textbook that I've ever written. Like I'm going there.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm very proud of how well I've played all of the instruments. And I just want to try to help people get better at it.
Yeah.
Because it is the game. You know how there's like good A&Rs in music? Like how'd you know Lady Gaga was gonna be big? Whoever discovered her, like he or she was just had a knack for it. Usually that knack is because you know how people are gonna feel. So I have a very good feeling of what the general public likes and doesn't like. But also I put in the work. Back to what we were talking about earlier. When I jumped on YouTube in February of 2006 and went all in, I spent most of the summer of 2005 reading TechCrunch every blog post. And they would write about the new startups. If I hadn't put in that work, I would have clicked on like the articles that led me there. If I didn't work 15 hours a day building winelibrary.com, sitting next to Eric Kastner, my developer, who probably was the one that said, read this TechCrunch article, because 3 years earlier I asked him, can I put wine videos on the website? How much would that cost? And after he told me like $1 billion to host them, because it was old back then, he was like, you're probably gonna like this because it's free. I'm like, it's free? You know, and so, I'm good at human psychology. I'll give you a real interesting one that you might find interesting since you're such a young buck. But back in 2007, when I was yelling about Twitter, almost everyone would say to me, this is so stupid. Who cares that you're walking the dog? Who cares if you're eating pizza? And my answer was everyone. And people were like brain fucked with that. They're like, what do you mean? Now that must seem mundane to all you youngsters. Like everybody shares everything about everything.
Yeah.
Back then, nobody shared anything about anything. So, you know, I think human psychology helps me, right? Like, why did I understand Musical.ly? Because I understood that it was putting in front of, when it was only 14-year-old girls, it was still putting in content in front of them based on content they liked, not based on following someone. I saw that in Tumblr when I was an early investor in Tumblr, and I knew why Tumblr was winning. It wasn't the social graph people, it was the interest graph. What are you into?
Yeah.
And I always thought that was more powerful because like Dustin and I could have been best friends in junior high, but then by high school, if our interests changed, right? We all lived through junior high and high school and college and post-life. We all saw, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 people stay forever. A lot of times it's just because they've been there for so long and you just got war stories together. It's not even like you are into the same shit anymore. But the natural human flight is you do change friends based on interest, times in life, things, right? And so that made more sense to me. So it's the skill of human psychology. It's the putting in the work. Like I wake up in the morning and I look at the app store. And then I play with things. If I think Reclip is interesting, I download and play with it.
Yep.
And right now, the only ones that are playing with Reclip are Gen Alpha. It's like me and the 9-year-olds, you know, like, and so like I put in the work, I stay curious, I watch, and then there's always moments where there's a tipping point. And I've been pretty good. Dustin's filming me in the back. For all the people that really follow me, obviously D-Rock is doing his own thing, and I always have different people filming. Dustin's now really been locked in with me for a little while, and he's been here 5, 6. So he's now seen a cycle, and here's what I mean where I'm about to go next if we're getting very marketing nerdy.
Yeah.
He was here when Be Real was starting to get hot. He was in the meetings filming me when I was like, I think it's a feature. Like, now it's not him reading about it.
Yeah.
Now it's not the kids, everyone who's listening right now on podcasts, like me talking about it. No, he lived it. So he can see that like there is a skill set to being good at it, not just throwing against the wall and see what sticks. And so, you know, I'm excited about this skill. I focus on it very heavily. For example, the cliche question people ask me all the time is like, okay, so what's next? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the second I see it, I go all in, I taste it. And whether that was Vine, where it did mean something, but then it sold quickly, or it was Social Cam, or Vero, or all these other things. That Peach was a big one for a week back in 2014. Like, I'm very focused on paying attention, putting in the work, saying maybe.
You know what fucks everyone up?
What?
I say no. TikTok, no. And I always say maybe.
Yeah.
With a hope to yes. I say maybe with a hope to yes in a world of people that say no. I also am very inspired by the following person. Show me the person that's currently living through massive adversity. Like I'll tell you somebody who's 10 times more inspiring to me than I think I am or deserve to be to others. Show me the kid that's listening right now whose father passed away from a stroke. He's 16. He's got 3 younger siblings and his mom has to now work 2 jobs and he's holding it down for the fam, right? He's literally a sophomore in high school. And he's basically the father figure now for 3 siblings. He had to quit the fucking football team because he's also I'm the son of 2 parents who lost a parent before they were 15. And back to gratitude, I think I got really fucked up by being scared that my parents were gonna die my whole childhood. But it kind of converted into this gratitude framework that's insane. It makes me unstoppable, you know? And so, yeah, for me, it's less Bezos or Elon or, you know, Oprah or anything. It's much more like someone none of us know that is really in it. Like
that bodega owner energy.
That stuff I grew up with and I fuck with it. But that person, I think, has it lucky, back to earlier, our simplicity, like owning your own little business, living within your means, like that's fucking kind of chill. It could be really epic. It doesn't put you on like this podcast, but it's like a great life in a lot of ways. And I see it a lot. I lived it, building my dad's business from 22 to 34. Not that person. The one that's like, back to your point, Sam, the spin of the wheel really created real adversity. I'll say it again. They're a sophomore in high school. They're good at school. They really love football. Like things are going well. Sudden passing of their father. Now they've got to be the father for their 3 siblings. Their mom is taking on an extra job. Like true adversity. Like true. And Sean, to finish off that sentence, who I admire, and not a peep of complaining. There's a very small group of kids that get that and they just convert into leader instead of woe is me or rebelling. I admire that level of tenacity and grit and accountability and fucking like, fuck it. Like it's on me. I got to put this shit on my shoulders. I'm going to do this for my 3 siblings. Like I admire the fuck out of that kid.
I wrote down a quote when I was doing the research for this that I think is exactly what you're talking about. You go, forget rags to riches. Some people are just rags to rags just so that their kids have a shot at rags to riches, and I respect the shit out of that. I love that quote. That was amazing.
Thank you for finding that. I'm really affected by that. Like, Sam really hit it on the head. Like, I hate the word luck because I think that people weaponize it against people that have worked really hard. But I believe in serendipity and luck quite a bit because it's just the way, like I was born in the Soviet Union. Like I got lucky to get out of there when I did. If I didn't, I would have come to this country in 1991 when it fell. I would have been 16, 17. I'd sound like Ivan Drago on these podcasts. It would have been all different. And, you know, I just really do admire people who, I really do think entitlement and lack of accountability has become a disease in first world countries in 2024. And I just really admire people who play the other way. I want to put real pressure on the framework, on the concept, on what's actually happening here, which is we are living through a transitional, transformative technology known as the internet. It is now finally 25 years old and mature. Everybody has it. Everybody has it all the time. And the whole world is getting flipped upside down. And you have an opportunity to take a piece of it. The problem is everybody wants to take the whole piece. Everybody's like, Gary, I'm gonna build the next Twitter or Uber or Facebook. Everybody's gonna build $1 billion company. News alert, you're not building $1 billion company. How about just building a company that you like and makes you happy? How about just doing something you like every day? Everybody's got to, right? Like, how about that? How about people in here realizing that they have a job that might pay them a little bit more than something else, but they hate it
but they're not willing to live in a more humble home or drive a more humble car, and so they have a miserable job just to pay for shit that they have to impress other people that they don't even like. How about that fucking conversation? It has never been easier, and I don't like using the word easy, but I'm gonna say it. It has never been easier to make $100,000 a year because of this. The problem is everybody thinks you have to make $1 billion, and the problem is nobody has humility to live a $100,000 lifestyle. I think we have to change the conversation in our society. Not in Southeast Asia, not in Malaysia, not in America. 7 billion people need to change the conversation of what success looks like. It is not to make $1 billion. It is to actually wake up in the morning and be in a good mood. And whether that is me, who loves the game of entrepreneurship so much that he goes so hard every day because he just loves what he does, or if it's somebody who only wants to work 25 hours a week because all their other passions are so interesting to them and that's what is good for them, we have to allow for everything. We have to allow for everything because everything is true and everything is real. And you need to figure out, my biggest fear of my popularity is that you think you have to do it like me. The only hope I have when you look at me is that you try to figure out your version of you that makes you as happy as my version of me makes me. I want to remind everybody here, I'm 43 years old, which means when I loved entrepreneurship in America, nobody else did. It was not popular, only school. So I loved this thing before it was this thing. And guess what? When the economies collapse, everybody's gonna go off of entrepreneurship and go back to a job, and I'm gonna still love this thing when it's not as cool as it is today. When there isn't sneakers and fans, I'm gonna still like it because it's mine. I've always done it, and I always will. You need to figure out that for you. Not what your parents think, not what I think, not what the comments think, you. My definition of success for me is to be able to do what I want to do at all times, always, and be happy about it. Having freedom is everything.
Has that changed over the years?
No, but I don't think I didn't realize what was going on in my youth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, no, I wasn't, it's hard for you to really know yourself completely at this point. You'll look back and realize it was all the same shit. By articulating it takes time within yourself and also just takes time of you actually executing on it. Back to the sub-context of what we're talking about here, one of my biggest problems right now of everybody who's trying to make positive impact is they're doing semantical work, not actual work, right? They're jockeying for their personal reputation by what they wear or what hashtag they use, not necessarily what they're actually doing. And if they actually ask themselves, once they actually embrace the fact that they're being selfish, then they can become selfless. When they're posturing to selflessness and disguising it, their true selfishness, they're losing, because that will play out. And that is the vulnerability of being over woke. That's the vulnerability. And the reason I like saying them out loud is because people aren't saying that part out loud, which then doesn't allow a lot of this good to actually be effective. And then it starts getting into delusion. There's so much I love about, making the world a better place, but it has to be practical. Like I would be thrilled if the government decides to wipe out all these college debts, but let me promise you what the reaction to that's gonna be. Even worse behavior. Watch what the 27-year-old does when you take $230 off her bill. Watch what she then does for the next 20 years. It's not gonna be as good as people. Doing what you love and also having the capacity to be comfortable with discomfort and being patient in eating shit is a very interesting enigma. And I appreciate the way you asked the question because it's gonna allow me to double click into it. the reason VaynerMedia and VaynerX, the holding co, is me doing what I love, it's because I'm willing to eat the crow in building this infrastructure to be the foundation of all my other future behavior. So is VaynerMedia my full nirvana moment? It is not. But I like it. I love operating. It sounds like you'll resonate with this. When you're a real purebred entrepreneur, you're happy selling anything.
Yeah, it's fun.
Like I'll sell sneakers.
My favorite thing to do,
That's
sell.
right. You know, and so like, okay, like, but I also have the capacity to be strategic, make less money, be uncomfortable. Like I worked in my dad's liquor store until I was 34 years old. I need every kid to hear this. I worked in my father's liquor store until I was 34 years old. So I had patience. That was, in one side, the reason I did it was I was so thankful and grateful to my parents for bringing me to America and changing the course of my life. And I love them, and we're very close in age. My parents were 22 and 20 when they had me, so we're like borderline friends, and like it's the best. And I believed that I was gonna be a great entrepreneur, and I somehow had the wisdom at 22 years old to say, you know what? I'm gonna go in here and build something huge from my parents, and then I'll have time to bounce out and go do it for myself. That was the greatest decision I ever made, but fuck, it was hard.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like working in like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, a lot of people end up resenting their parents if they push them towards anything that's in the family business. But you're grateful, right?
No, my parents, honestly, they were agnostic. Like it was weird. By the time I was 16, it was pretty clear to both my parents that I was good. But they didn't go like the reason I love my parents is they didn't go weirdo on me and try to turn me into like a slave, right? It kind of just was. We were all just kind of moving, you know? It was very immigrant.
Yeah.
We're just like, you know, you're doing what you have to do. And I walked into it. Like I was like, I'm gonna come and like wreck house. And literally took, you know, Shoppers Discount Liquors and built Wine Library, one of the biggest wine retailers in the country. And everybody from Watchung went to Wine Library. It was awesome. And you know, it was really a great chapter, but fuck, I'd be lying to everyone if I didn't say, like, I'm unstoppable with judgment, but I promise you 5 years after college at 27, when I'm working the floor, helping people select wine during Christmas, and some of my buddies that I grew up with now are in Wall Street and driving into our parking lot in their BMW and they're buying a case of Dom Perignon and I'm carrying it out to their car and putting it into their trunk, and I see the way they're looking at me like, man, and I know I'm gonna fucking be bigger than everyone. Holding your breath is fucking hard, and I'm fucking unstoppable. So if it even registered to me, the normal person with their relationship with judgment, fuck, that was hard.
Yeah.
And the bigger thing that was hard was my dad was not paying me that much money and I was building a huge company. And then I started forming, I think calling it resentment would be too much, but I started having feelings. Like the business went from 4 million to 60 million and I'm still making 80,000 a year. You know, if I would have been better off going anywhere, I would have been making millions. So, you know, I think, but again, I was making my own bed. The reason it was cool was I knew I chose to do it. Just like I chose to leave and start VaynerMedia.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been pretty consistent on this, like long before I think we've gotten more thoughtful about the mental health aspect. Like I will never, to the day I die, understand why anyone would choose anything over being happy. I think people think money will cover up the scars and make you happy. I believe that people that don't have money believe that money is happiness, and that if they buy a BMW or get an attractive husband or wife, or have 3 homes, or have a 7-carat ring, or a private chef, that will unlock the happiness. I've lived a life where I came from the dirt, and now live a life where I see all the tippy top 1%, and I can promise you, and one day you'll find out if you don't believe me, that money does not buy happiness. It creates convenience, it creates opportunity to do things, but I'm talking about happiness. So what is my recommendation? Fuck around and find out. That's my recommendation. If you do not believe me or the other people that spit it, who've lived it, the reason people burn out is because they choose money, not entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship without the money is the game. You and I weren't picking money when we were selling candy in school. We're just like living our life. It's somebody,
inventing.
Yeah, people were gravitating towards trumpet. People were gravitating towards Spanish class. People were gravitating, like, I didn't read a business book in second grade and open up a lemonade stand. My mom didn't tell me to do that. It was delight. It was all I knew. It was my hard wiring. That's different than, and that's why this fake entrepreneurship era is tough, because a lot of them are making a bad name for the game. They're like, entrepreneurship fucked with my mental health. It's because you fucking were trying to use it to cover up your issues. Therapy should have been what you were doing, not entrepreneurship. Yeah, and it's that, I've never said that before, and I appreciate your reaction. Like, that's actually the truth. People thought the money could cover it up. The money accelerates it. Money exposes you. It doesn't change you.
Yeah.
So what would I say? I would say what I've been saying my whole life. Even my first book, coming out the gate, my message, even you said it earlier, like, it was crush it. Cash in on your passion. Everybody who's listening right now, think about the thing you would do 24/7 if you could, if you really could. What is your play? What is your downtime? What is your leisure? What's your favorite? Golf? Cooking? Music? Skiing? Travel? Like, if you can spend your 20s trying to make a career in that, you will win. If you go and try to be practical and be an accountant because your dad said so, or you think it's cool and be an entrepreneur when deep down you know you don't have the stomach for it, you will lose. And so I think the reason that people are struggling is that they're not in their right path.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to talk shit without going to the third level.
Yeah.
Gary, but you don't get it. I'm not spending enough time with my boyfriend. I'm like, maybe you don't like your boyfriend. Because I promise you, if you were obsessed with your boyfriend and your business, you'll make the time.
Yeah.
Actions over words. We become very wordy. We're really fucking wordy.
Yeah.
And this is not just Gen Z or millennials. Like, boomers are wordy as fuck on Facebook. Humans have become incredibly wordy because there's somewhere to put your words.
Yeah.
Social media has allowed us to talk. And most people talk straight bullshit. And so, Gary, you don't get it. Like, I miss my kids. I'm like, go see your kids.
Yeah.
People are not accountable. People like to posture for optics, but have a different reality. So, because if you actually mean it, you would do it.
Yeah. Yeah, be honest about it, be honest about your priorities.
Yeah, I think people just are getting really good at, like, looking for pity.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna struggle to cry for someone who is actively fully in control as an entrepreneur, who's crying about it. And now someone's gonna be listening and say, but I have a job and I'm stuck. No, you're not. You could sell your home. You could pay rent at a smaller apartment. You could sell your car and take public transportation. Many people did for many generations. We've just gotten so entitled and are looking for easy. Do you know how many people complain about money and buy Starbucks?